This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 34. It has been a minute. I can't even remember where I'm at right now because it's been so long. I hadn't spent any time in the booth or the studio, and now I'm back in here. So I'm getting comfortable in my surroundings. Got the old heads outside. The dude wanting change so he can go get some beer from the liquor store. I might have to give him some change this time because I don't ever give him no change. I'm just playing. Ain't nobody outside waiting for money for the liquor store. How have y'all been? I hope y'all have been good. I've been great. There are, exciting things on the horizon. I've finally started to do it. Can't discuss them, but, I'm trying to continue the evolution of the company and bring forth, other things and stuff. So I am very excited, very excited. Hopefully everybody's staying cool. This heat wave is like somebody just took the earth or specifically the Southwest and stuck it in the oven, turned it on broil, and forgot to take our ass out the oven. You know how it is sometimes. You put stuff in the oven or you go to cook something, you boil water. Hey, I was filling water at my facility to put in the portable air conditioning unit to try to keep the place cool, and there were a couple of times where I forgot I left it on, and I almost flooded out the facility. I had to mop it and squeegee the water outside. So that's kind of how it feels. Like they just put the Southwest, Texas, Arizona, and Vegas. They just stuck us in the oven, put brawl, and didn't put the time limit. So they're waiting on the timer to go off, but the timer ain't going off because they never started a timer. So I'm hoping for cooler days just because, a lot of people can't deal with the heat. I mean, I can deal with it. My wife had a very hard time when we were in Vegas. At some point, I'm going to have her on, talk about her experience, but she had a very hard time with heat exhaustion. So, some people aren't built for the heat. I mean, I grew up playing in it outside all day and everything. So, it's not for everybody. So hopefully these temperatures will start to cool some and we won't have to worry as much about the heat. With that being said, let me get on to things on my mind. You guys have to understand, scams are very sophisticated. You really have to start to understand, that there are just segments of population out there that are just, devising ways to take your money, and it's not right, obviously. And I wish that we could eliminate that because you're taking, people who are unsuspecting and, tricking them into allowing you to take their money. I might have been they almost got me, I think. They almost tried to get me because there was a post saying that it was saying that my podcast had been reported and that it was being reported and that they were going to delete the account because somebody reported my podcast. First thing went to my mind is, that's episode 33. Y'all didn't have a problem with it until episode 33. I've kind of calmed down with my language and stuff. I'm not flying and hurling expletives like I used to. Now, that wasn't just flying, but, that was just talking, right? But I was kind of like, how is it that somebody reported, and then you start trying to think about, well, who is out there hating on us? I don't know. So, but then it was like, providing a link. And what I try to do is I try to take my time and look through stuff before I start clicking and stuff like that. If I'm not sure, I might go on Google and type it to see what comes up. That's kind of a way that I have with trying to make sure that, something's legit. And as I read more and more, and then I was trying to get into it, I realized that that was an actual Facebook page. So the link, I don't know what the link would have done because I didn't click it. So, rather than us being reported, we reported their ass. We reported them. But, scams work a lot by, kind of most of the time having you to panic. And when you panic, you do things that you're not normally, accustomed to doing. You get an alert. Your bank account's been withdrawn. Please enter this code or please click on this link so we can get you in there to figure out what happened and trace it so before your money's gone. First thing people's going to say is like, oh, shit, and not take the time. So we have to be vigilant. We have to try to be patient. And just take our time and look through it, and go. There are dozens of protections that we have as consumers. Sometimes you have to activate those protections to make sure that you don't get scammed. But you have to be vigilant. I know they was talking on Good Morning America about what was it? It was a new scam where they would call your phone. And then they would, once you answered, as you picked up the phone, they would immediately ask you a question for you to say yes. And then once you said yes, that was part of the scam. They would use your voice authorization to try to, create accounts and stuff like that. So you really have to be careful, when you're answering numbers that you don't know. And it's not just, they don't do them for just out of town numbers. They'll do them from a local number because you're more inclined to answer the phone if it's the same area code. I have to answer the phone because of my business. And I usually answer it if it's a area code in this area. But if I'm not able to do it, I'll just, screen the call. I'll try to screen the call, and I might start screening it even more just to make sure that people are legitimately calling for information. So, you have to be vigilant, and we really have to take care of our elders because they prey on them. Our elders don't know technology the way, we do. Now, I'm saying elders, and I turned 50 last year, so I'm probably going to be in that group. But, but, I'm a little bit more tech savvy. I have to be. But there are times when I talk with my mom and she's telling me stuff and I have to get on her and say, look, you got it. You just can't be responding or doing it because they really try to do stuff. What other kind of scams they running? Now, this is the kind of scam that kind of trips me out where they run these fake dating things where you're dating somebody and, you've been dating them for a while and then they start asking you for money and they need help with stuff and then you're giving them money and stuff like that. And those are a little bit odd because it's how you giving money to somebody that you ain't really met, over and over again. I can see if they get you one time, but over and over again. So Facebook's really bad. I had a person who's, teammate of mine, got me because the information he sent and he got me for $20. And which was odd because I was kind of like, well, why do you need this? But instead of going to that wall that I built, I just said, I'm going to trust that, this is my man. And if this $20 was something that I shouldn't be giving out, then I shouldn't be giving out, right? So I shouldn't even worry about it. So, yeah, they got me for 20 and needless to say, you can get got on Messenger and all of these things. So, and all I'm just saying is stay vigilant because they are really out there. Okay, so another thing on my mind is I'm wondering what is the criteria for the NFL Hall of Fame? What is the criteria? Because you wonder when you look at people who enter the Hall of Fame, and this goes for all sports. You wonder what it is that they did to get in every year. And you can't find it because I was trying to search and stuff. I saw something on the Athletic, and it was an article, and they were trying to propose a criteria because some guys get in. Okay, so I'll use a guy for example. Zach Thomas, right? Zach Thomas, who was a linebacker, started back in like maybe 98, 97 or something like that. And he went on he played 13 years in the NFL. So he had an illustrious career in the NFL. But the thing about him is there's really no criteria as far as what it is that you need to get in. So he had a great career, and I guess it was Deion Sanders who mentioned, like, look, we're letting everybody in the Hall of Fame, and it's not the Hall of Fame now. So I'm always like, well, what's the criteria? Because if you knew what the criteria was, and obviously you're going to have, some things that maybe not meet the criteria per se, but you take in consideration, I think it would make it easier for people to understand how some people get in. Like, do you have to be top 25 in that position, at the time, all time, or what have you? Are Super Bowls part of the criteria? Should you make a championship or a Super Bowl and stuff? And it's obviously harder in football than it is in basketball, because in football, you only play one side of the ball for the most part. There are a few people that play on both sides, but for the most part, quarterback never gets to defend. A cornerback or linebacker or a punter, they don't get to do anything other than what their position, is that they play. So it's just been one of those things to where I've always just wondered, what is the criteria? And I don't say that to say that any of the people who are in the Hall of Fame or who was just, announced to be in the Hall of Fame this particular year don't deserve it. I just would like to know, with any sport, like, what are y'all looking for? I know some of it is subjective, and some of it is objective. But let's kind of make it to where, look, if you don't publish something for the public to see, I think you should. And it's going to create conversation, because in that article, they were talking about stuff with coaches. And then, people start saying, well, this coach, I think it was Shanahan, when he was coaching at the Broncos, well, he did something illegal with the salary cap and was getting players, and that's how they won. And then they got paid for it. They paid for it as a team, and then this person saying, one coach that he should have been in before these two coaches because he had more wins than they did. And this coach, well, he had 3 different quarterbacks and he was successful, So it's like all these different criteria that other people have that are legitimate criteria, but obviously you can't have all of them, because if you say one coach took 3 quarterbacks and was successful with those 3, then would that be the criteria for every coach? Because, Bill Belichick is considered the greatest coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And he won 6 championships with 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady. Was it 6 or 7? I think it was 6. But he won with one quarterback. So he hasn't done anything with any other quarterback, but he's had Tom throughout this run. So I just would like to see the criteria, because it really makes it easy for you to look and say, okay, I see where they're going. I understand that. And I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to say, hey, well, I don't agree with that. I'm not part of the committee. But at least you kind of know, and you're not guessing, as to why. And apparently in the Hall of Fame, a person can write a letter or email why they think somebody should be in the Hall of Fame. And as long as they meet the requirements, that person can be looked at going into the Hall of Fame, which is odd. I might need to enter my youngest name in there, Joseph Cerner, for punt returns. He played in the early 2010s and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, let's take a look at him. And they'll be responding, hey, can you send us some film? We don't need no film, because I'm nominating them. I don't need you to have no film. Just trust that I know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's funny. Okay, let me move on, and let me bring this up. It's what if a pro player, what if you did 1-year contracts with pros? All right, what does that mean, Kanan? All right, well, here's what I'm getting at. You have the Jonathan Taylor situation with the Colts, where he's trying to renegotiate. He feels like he's owed more. And then you had the owner, Mr. Irsay, come out and basically say that, running backs aren't valued like they used to be. And it's almost like I've heard people talk. It's almost like you could see this coming from maybe 5 years ago, where you started having quarterbacks who were throwing, the game was more throw heavy. They were throwing it all over the place. And a lot of these quarterbacks didn't have per se, that 1,000 to 1,500 yard runner every year. Tom Brady, I don't think he's had running backs that were, over 1,500 yards or that were the top. They had running backs that could run, but he was pass heavy. Mahomes, he doesn't really have that. Now, the Eagles had a unique situation because of the style of play that they have, but they did it by committee, quarterback, and I believe two running backs that they had that, they were all very dangerous in the blocking schemes and the play calling in which they ran it. But you look back and it's like you don't really have any dominant running backs like you used to. You have from the Titans, but Derrick Henry, but he's been hurt and stuff. So I think they've been keeping stats, and they're trying to devalue certain positions like, what they used to be. And I get it, but everything cycles around. Everything cycles around. And one team, what works for one team is not going to work for another. But what if you signed a 1-year contract? You didn't have to go 4 years, 150 over 4 years with 60 million guarantee, right? You could do like a basic. You can say, okay, this is the basic. We're going to go 4 years, and this is what we're looking at 4 years. But we're going to do it by year. So it's still kind of a contract, but at the end of the year, if we don't like what you're doing, we can cut you. If you don't like what we're about, you can move on to another team. I don't even know if that works. When I was thinking about it, because, when you driving sometimes, you just be coming up with stuff and be like, yeah, you know what? Ketchup packets need to really be brought to the forefront because I think they're really important. You just be bringing up stuff like, stuff that don't make sense. But as I was thinking about it at the time, I was like, well, okay, well, in college, you're not really on a 4-year scholarship. You're on a year to year. Now, the mindset is that just a 4-year, but technically it's year by year. You kind of re-up every year. And I'm thinking like, why can't you do that in the NFL? Obviously, you would have players trying to all go to one team to get together. Yeah, but you still got to have chemistry. You still got to win. And in football, it's harder. Plus, one team's not going to have all the money to to pay everybody. Because you're leaving your team. Like, he doesn't want to leave. He just wants to get paid. You have, I think it's Zach Martin with the Cowboys, who did a 4-year contract. And at the time, he was one of the highest paid players. Now, he wants an extension. He wants more money. He feels like his position is valued. And I believe the statistics and everything that comes out supports everything. But on one hand, they're like, no, you need to honor your contract. And I hear people say that, but thing is nobody honors them. If the team want to get rid of you in year 2, they feel like they could make a better decision, a better way for themselves, they'll avoid it or figure out a way to cut you or get rid of you, even if you were performing to the best of your ability and where your contract as. Teams can still do that. Players don't have that option as much. In some sports, like in basketball, they're forcing their way out more. And I guess I get it because teams will cut you or trade you if they want. So I just figured like, if you just had 1 year, y'all better treat me right for that year. Y'all better show me, that it's worth me coming back for another year. Because if not, I'm gonna go. Maybe that's a solution. I don't know, but these contract disputes, people wanting money, if you outperform, like, I do hear it a lot. Well, I outperform my, my contract, so I deserve more money. I've yet to hear somebody come in and say, hey, I underperformed. I know I was supposed to have 1,000 yards, but I only had like 250 and some change. I wasn't seeing the holes right. I wasn't blocking. I wasn't doing anything that my contract asked. So here's $10 million from this year back. I hope you guys can use it, and we'll look for next year. Man, that shit ain't happening. And I'm gonna tell you, here, this is a perfect example, and I know that we all do it. You ever go to a place, drive-through? Usually it's a drive-through. You go to the drive-through, and then when you realize you check your food, whether it's there. Sometimes, most of the time, we don't check it there. We take it that at face value that they took care of us. You get home, you get through it, and you look like, damn, they forgot my fries, right? So you'll call back and act the fool like, man, y'all forgot my fries and y'all got my order wrong and stuff. And usually they have to say, hell, we're sorry about that. We pride ourselves in this. What's your name? When you come in, we'll make you a fresh batch or we'll give you a coupon or something like that. And you're like, all right, okay. But it still don't mess up the fact that, I don't got my fries to enjoy, right? So then that's one thing. But when you go through the drive-thru or you go to that place and you order, you get home and you realize they gave you extra food, you don't call the place back and say, hey, y'all gave me extra chicken nuggets. I only asked for a 20-piece and now I got 35 nuggets. I don't know what to do with these extra 15 nuggets. Well, I'm sorry, if you could bring them back to us. We pride ourselves in getting your order correct. No, you don't do that. You be like, oh shit, we got extra food. We got extra food. We gonna save this for tomorrow. I got lunch for tomorrow. We don't do that. So if you don't do it in one way, then why are you doing it another way? If you outperform your contract, you want more money. If you underperform your contract, you still want the money that you owe. It's got to be the same way. But that's just funny because it actually happened to me the other day. We bought something from a restaurant and we had extra. Now, if we were close or if we were there and went through it, they're not going to take that food because they'll just tell you, because we've done it before. They'll just tell you, look, you know what, just keep it because if you bring it back, they're going to throw it away, right? So you're like, well, they're going to throw it away anyway. But like, you're not trying to get on them and tell them, hey, we only bought one Xbox, but you gave us 3. How dare you? What am I going to do with 2 extra Xboxes? Oh man, that's funny. But I hope that, Jonathan Taylor gets the situation taken care of. And I hope that, there's a remedy because it happens too much to where I think part of it is it creates drama, it's year round stuff, and drama sells, but why not? Let's just talk about the sport and everything. Now, it's not every team, but a lot of times you have it with multiple teams and it's stuff that I'm not going to say I don't care about, but it's like, yo, man, get that taken care of. I just want to see the game and I want to see the best players play at the highest level and we'll see who wins because they had a great running game. And last year was kind of hampered with because the quarterback play with Matt Ryan wasn't what they thought. So, hopefully this year it's going to be a little bit better than what it was. Okay. All right. So let me get to my basketball training ideology. Now, I know it's been a while since I've had my basketball terms, but I'm hitting you with a basketball term today. This basketball term is called shoot the gap. All right. So the definition of shooting the gap, it's the technique in which a defender cuts underneath a pin down or a stagger screen to meet his man on the other side of the screen. I swear when I read it, I say to myself, like, I'm trying to visually understand what the hell this definition is. But basically, I'm going to break it down. If you're defending somebody and they run a screen and that player is going to curl on top of it, instead of trailing behind that person and allowing that person to catch it and possibly go to the rim for a layup, you decide to just go under the screen. That's all it is. I'm going to go underneath. Now, that was something I used to do way back. I used to love to go under the screens, and I would tell my big, like, hey, leave me room. I'm cut through, because I felt I was I was quicker to where I could get through it and meet him as he was catching the ball. Now, obviously, you kind of try to play him differently, and then at the same time, when you're playing, a person who can shoot, like, catch and shoot behind the three, then you have to defend that slightly different. But that's basically the basketball term. Shoot the gap, go underneath the screen. Everybody has a different term for stuff. And once, you might not understand it, like I always say, but once you see, you be like, oh, okay, this is roller hay. That's what we call it. Roller hay. Yeah. Okay. What does roller hay mean? Oh, it just means you go underneath the screen. Well, why you call it roller? Well, that's a long story. All right. Well, all right. Let's get off. I'll get on with it. Let me not get into no things, but that's the basketball terminology. Term today is shoot the gap. Okay, so here's one thing I wanted to discuss, and it was, the question I have is, does El Paso have a height problem with high school basketball players? I would say on the boys' side. On the girls' side, I think we have quite a few players, at that height that can play. Now, from the guard position, I'll start with the girls' side. From the guard position, from the 1 to 3, guards here match up with skill level, shooting, and I would say height. I would say, El Paso does have point guards that are usually smaller than 5'5", but they can play. And the college coaches that I've always spoken to on the girls' side, like their tenacity, like their IQ, they can shoot, they're quick and fast. So they would take a guard, right? Now, traditionally in women's college ball, you don't have, you have some teams that have players, 6'5" to 6'8", but a lot of teams have players in that 6 feet to 6'1". I've heard coaches say, if you get a girl that's 5'11", we could probably play her at post. Now obviously when you play against the Power 5 conference teams, that's where a lot of the height comes into play. And you have wings in the Power 5 conferences that have girls who are 5'11", 6 feet. I had a coach tell me recently he was playing in the circuit with this girls team out in South Carolina, and they ran up against a 6'7" girl who could play all 5 positions. So yeah, you're gonna have it, but I think on the girls' side, I think most of these teams can match up very well with other teams, height and stuff. Now on the boys' side, it tends to be really thin. You don't have, a majority of the schools where you'll have kids, 6'5" and up, 6'5" to 6'8". It's a dime a dozen. You might have there's a kid this year, I believe he's between 6'8" and 6'10", so he's going to get a lot of fanfare. There were 2 kids in Las Cruces. They were both brothers that, one was older, obviously, and he was like 6'9", 6'10", and then the brother was about the same, 6'8" to 6'10". So you're going to have that. But like from the guard position, the guards here are really small. Most of the point guards here are below 5'5". You don't see a lot of, 6 foot to 6'2" point guards here in this city. Unfortunately, you have teams where you might have a kid who's 6'2", and he's more poised to play the point or the shooting, but because he's the tallest player, he has to play on the post. Now, I'm okay with that defensively, because defensively, yeah, you're going to need it, but offensively, sticking that player in the post actually hurts his play and the team's play, and it doesn't let you create advantages you want. But I have noticed, I've been here for a long time now. I was told back in the 70s and 80s, we had lots of giants up here in the El Paso area. But I don't know what. I don't know if it's something in the water. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's some kind of, magnet or something that's in the area that's keeping people from growing high. Look, my high school teams, we had, 6'3" to 6'8", 6'10", on the roster, and it had to average out because I was a little guy, right? But we had a lot of height. We could match up with any team. People used to say we had a college level team because of the height and athleticism that we had on our team. But here you don't see that as much. It's like I can't even remember the last team here that had two post players that were above 6'6", both of them, right? I in the comment section after this, hit me the names and the teams, within the last 10 to 15 years that it's happened, and I'll bring it up on the next show. But I don't know or have heard of it. So it's weird that we don't have a lot of height in the 1, the 2, the 3. You have a lot of kids here that, anything above 6'2" to 6'4", they're playing the post. And what I have to explain to parents, when they come to me or they're looking at playing colleges, I say, look, if you're not allowed to play on the wing freely on the offensive side with your high school, you're going to need to show it in city league or travel, because there's no college well, there might be some, but from what I know, there's not a lot of college coaches that are going to take a 6'4" power forward or a 6'4" center. Even if you have outstanding jumping ability, a guy 6'8" or 6'9" is going to negate that just by posting you up closer, turning and going up and either pump faking you to get you to jump because you're so figure that you got to jump a lot quicker to time it to have any chance to play defense. Now you're getting all these kind of fouls or stuff. So, you have to be able to play up in the sense that you can't play the 4 and the 5. You might be able to play the 2 or the 3. That's a possibility, So I wonder if we have a problem because, I've had parents say, well, you know what? He's projected to be 6'8", 6'9". And I'm like, well, good. I can't wait to see it. We can't wait to see when we're going to have multiple teams, that are big. And when I say big, I'm saying, maybe your point guard is between 5'10" and 6'1". Maybe your shooting guard is between 6 foot and 6'2". Maybe your 3 is between 6'2" and maybe 6'4". Your 4 is between 6'5" and 6'6". And then your big is, 6'6" to 6'9". That's a nice size squad. And that's a type of athletic squad with height and athleticism, hopefully, or just height and length that can bother any team when it comes to playing against, making it to state. So it's really weird. It's really weird because I think other cities at this size and some even smaller, maybe they drinking some secret water. Like you remember Space Jam when Bugs had the water bottle and he was like the secret sauce or something, and he was telling everybody, hey, Mike, let me have some of this, and everybody was drinking it thinking it was something that was going to let them play like Michael Jordan, but it was just regular water. I don't know if maybe we need some Space Jam secret sauce or something. But I do think there's a height problem, and until that height problem corrects itself, it's going to be continually hard to have kids recruited here because they're going to take height and athleticism over skill when it comes to you're going to recruit a 6'4" shooting guard before a 6 foot guard. They're going to recruit him. I'm sorry. Now unless that 6 foot shooting guard can play point as well and is just electrifying, even then they're tending to look at height because they tell you can't teach height. You can teach anything else, but not height. So I think that's an issue. All right. So the next thing is I was asked a question: when do I move a client up in level? So when do I move a client up? So like if I have a client who's beginner, when do I start to move them up from beginner to intermediate or intermediate to advanced? And it's kind of a tricky process because majority of the clients I get, some can be advanced in one area, intermediate in another area, and a beginner in some areas. It's not often that I have somebody, I have had some that are truly advanced or they're truly intermediate level. So what I kind of base it on is things that they struggled with before that they're doing easier. Okay. Other thing I base it on is, do I have to, if I work with this kid on something, then the next week or, 2 or 3 weeks down the road, we're doing some kind of concept and it involves something that I work with them on, did they pick it up? Because I tell parents and the kids, look, if you work on this and you get it down, we don't have to come back to it. I can move on to something else. But if I constantly have to go back to something that I've just worked with you on, it really hinders your development. So, for instance, if a kid, does everything really nice, he's a beginner, but he's more intermediate on his right side. He can shoot jumpers pretty well. He can get to the basket and finish on his right. Problem is, he doesn't know how to go left. He struggles going left. He struggles finishing at the basket. He can't do 1, 2, and 3 dribble pull-ups going left. He struggles on it. Okay? I can't move that kid up. That kid's not intermediate to me. Because intermediate means that you can dribble to me. It means that you can dribble between the legs. You can dribble behind the back. You can cross over, around the back, spin move, V dribble, in and out, all of the dribbling drills, with a lot more confidence. You also can shoot layups going right. You can shoot layups going left. Okay? And, you have a nice jump shot. It doesn't have to be spectacular, but now we can move on to a little bit more intermediate things, reverse layups on both sides, starting to refine your jump shots, adding step backs or whatever it is. It just depends on the kid. But that's usually how I define if it's time to move up. So I'm never just going to keep a kid in one space. When that kid proves that, that they can take more complicated and advanced things, then I'm going to move them up to that area and continue. And, it varies. I have some kids that, they want to come, they learn and stuff at a slower pace. I have other kids that learn at a very fast pace. And it's all in the kids. And that's what I tell them. Look, I'm going to train you, but at some point you have to ask yourself, is this something you want to do? Because you can't be with me for 6 months and still be having struggles with shooting layups on the right hand and left hand, because that stuff is covered and you're shown that you can do it very quickly. It's just a matter of if you're doing it. So that's usually kind of what I'm looking at, if they're able to do things, and then I move them. I don't tell them like a black belt or brown, but hey, I'm moving you up to an intermediate level. No, the training just progresses into that level. Once they are in an intermediate and they're really high, then, we go into advanced. Advanced is mainly more just concepts, IQ stuff, complicated handles when you're attacking. But I have a 9-step, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I have a 9-step process and or progression. And it's a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Now, in the beginner stage, you have 3 levels: beginner, intermediate beginner, advanced beginner. After that, you go up: beginner, intermediate, intermediate, advanced intermediate. And then the same thing with advanced. And I kind of have a list of things that I'm kind of looking for you, to be to where I can just say, well, if I was to test you, this is the criteria I would test you for and will let you do it. But I don't really do that because, we can be all over the place with things because every kid's needs change from week to week depending on what it is. So, if I had somebody say, hey, I want to go exactly by this step process and we'll go from there, then I'd be happy to do that. Okay, now, last thing I want to discuss is I want to discuss the 5-out set. 5-out is an offensive set that majority of teams run in today, especially on the younger levels and on actually all levels. A lot of teams run 5-out. That's the basic set, but they have different variations. Now, what is a 5-out? A 5-out is an offensive set that has 5 players outside the perimeter. Okay, so outside, I'm not outside the perimeter, outside the 3-point line. So you'll have the point guard at the top of the key. He or she is outside the 3-point line. You'll have 2 wings, one on the right, one on the left, and then you'll have 2 in the corner, one on the right, one on the left. So they're all outside the 3-point line. Now, in the basic sense, it's more of a pass and cut. You're filling in. So if the point guard passes to the wing on the right, they cut to the basket, try to flash and, to see if they can catch the pass to get an easy layup. If they don't catch the pass, if the ball went to the right, they go kind of towards the baseline and they cut out to the left corner 3 on the outside of the 3. As they're going to that side, the person on the wing on the left fills in at the top. The person on the corner fills into the wing, and the person who made the initial pass will fill in to the corner. Okay, so it's kind of a revolving the way they're passing. It's a motion, and you're looking for advantages with cuts, right? Now, there are tons of variations within the 5-out set where you can pass and pick. You can dribble handoff. You can catch the ball at the wing. You can pass it down to the post. Maybe you have the opposite corner. When the ball goes to the wing, the opposite corner runs over and sets a screen for the person with the ball, or the opposite corner. There are tons of different variations, and coaches are very creative with trying to get their players in the best options. Now, it's a free-flowing style offense meant to be positionless. And what do I mean by positionless? Positionless really means that all positions from 1 to 5 can do everything. So if you have your guards are tall, they can play guards. Let me rephrase that. It's really for if you have your post players. If your post players can handle the ball and shoot threes, you can now be a positionless team. It doesn't necessarily mean you have all 6'9" players. Your guard, your wings, your power forward, and your post players are all 6'9" and above. No, you can have a 6-foot guard, a 6'4" or 5 shooting guard, and so forth. But it really identifies when you have typically a post player that can shoot and handle the ball. That's what makes it work well. Now, the problem, I want to say, is that you have teams running 5-out and they don't have the proper personnel running it. Number one, you obviously have to know what you're looking for, and you want to start to help your players understand the variations. This is what you can do. These are the things that you can do out of it. And I do that with my players. I help them understand, this is, if it's against a man, this is kind of what you're going to see. This is where you need to attack. And these are the options once you start to attack that's going to help you successful, because I'm a firm believer in, if you have, a pretty good offense, as long as everybody can do, they can dribble, they can penetrate, they can shoot, they can get to the basket, to me, there's really no way of stopping that offense. All you can do is maybe force somebody to take a shot that you might not think can make the shot. Maybe you do something to surprise them again. But if you have really good IQ players, you can do it once, but you can't keep doing it because they're going to figure it out, right? So when you're looking at a 5 out, when I say sometimes you don't have the right personnel, I say that because you sometimes have kids who can't shoot and can't dribble. And this is more so on the lower levels. You got kids who can't shoot, who don't know how to attack or get by a defender. So they're kind of useless because it's such a. When I say useless, I don't mean them. I mean within this offense, they're misappropriated in this offense. This is not the offense for them. Because if defensively I'm playing man to man and I have my guy on a kid who can't dribble or shoot or really pass really well, I'm not playing him. I'm going to sag that my teammate in to kind of help everybody out. And I'm going to say, okay, you're going to have to pass him the ball and he's going to have to get good quality shots and, make a high rate of them. If he makes 10 out of 13 shots and beats us, we got to tip your hat off to him because we didn't think he could do it because that's not what he does. So I think when you're running certain sets, you do need to have the personnel in there because a 5-out can be complicated as you really start to delve into the different variations, and allow players the flexibility and freedom to exploit it. Some offenses, some people who run this offense, they don't allow it. It's no, this is what I want. And I've seen some places where you'll have them cycle that offense or reset that offense 6 times. And the defense knows exactly what's going to happen and they won't deviate from what they're doing and add wrinkles to catch the defense off guard. So when you're running a 5-out offense, to me, and I've talked to other coaches and stuff, you do have to have 5 players that can shoot or dribble. They don't have to have Kyrie or Steph Curry like handles. No. But your big who's out on that corner needs to be able to shoot the 3 if he's going to be out there. He needs to be able to, make a pass to a cutter, efficient pass. And he also needs to be able to drive, 2 or 3 dribbles to the basket, maybe be able to counter move. So if he goes one or 2 dribbles towards the middle, defender cuts him off, he can counter move with a cross between behind, spin move or whatever, and continue to finish. If you have bigs, if your 4 and your 5 can do that because your 1, 2, and 3 should be able to do that. If your 4 and 5 can't do that, you probably shouldn't be running a 5-out. I'll discuss another set that allows, I'm going to discuss 3 sets and, one of them's going to address each need. A 5-out, you can have guards. You can have all 5 guards and run a 5-out. I do think that your guards all need to be able to shoot and drive, which you figure they can, but then some don't do it because they're trying to play the role. The role of the post player today is played by 5'3", such and such or whatever. So a 5-out is an offense that you can get a lot of looks. It's more positionless. And the basic set is pass and cut. You can go dribble handoff. You can go down from the wing to the corner to set a screen. That person kind of curls over or pops out. One gives that person, a pass for a catch and shoot. You can do drive and kicks out of the 5-out. Sometimes the point guard will just look for the favorable matchup. And if the team is switching a lot on defense, you get a switch. Now that bad defender has to guard you, and you're hunting him, and you get by him, and you either get a layup or you draw the defense in, and you get a kick out for wide open shots. So it really depends on kind of how that coach is allowing. But I do know that there are a lot of 5-out offenses where you have people who shouldn't be in a 5-out offense. They don't understand it, and they don't know they don't understand it. And even if they did, they have more issues with taking them. They might know that if they catch it, they can shoot, But if they know they can't shoot, but they're shooting, it doesn't hurt the offense. They know that if they catch the ball and the defender's out on him and he closes out and he's contesting the shot and they give a pump fake and that defender happens to jump, they know that they can drive, but they're really, really basic on their dribbling, so they're not comfortable and it leads to turnovers. So, and if a help person comes, they might not know what to do with the ball, which happens. So I think you have to understand your personnel, and good coaches should be able to change their personnel, change their philosophy depending on the personnel. But that's all. I won't go too much into it. I think I've went into it a lot. So that's going to be all for today. I know I've covered quite a few, man. I had this stuff stored up in my head, bubbling out, ready to pop out. So look, we're going to go on to our Patreon in a minute. So here's the bonus content talking about the UFOs. Oh, man. Yeah, your boy is talking about the UFOs. I'm talking about pricing issues that I'm sure businesses encounter. And then I'm going to talk about 2 simple techniques that guards struggle with that I've seen. So, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, click on and subscribe to our Patreon so you can hear the bonus contents and other things that I have on my Patreon. But I'm going to end it like I've always ended it, and as strongly as I can say it. And some people say, man, I love when you end it, when you say it like this. I feel that. I felt that. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm enjoying the fact that you're feeling it. But I'm in it as always. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.